What's going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 26 of To the Show We Go, featuring Ed Hand and myself, Andrew Parker. Today, we have our third member of the Woo Sox on, aka the Woo Dogs. We had Brendan Nail on earlier in the season, and then we had Chase Sogard on just a few episodes back. So if you're looking for more Woo Sox stuff, definitely check out our guy Nail Gun and Chase Sogard. Today, we have our first position player actually for the Woo Sox, been heavy on the pitchers, but we got Nick Sogard. Now, Nick, I just want to start it off before we get into some other things, but how has the offseason been treating you?
It's been good. Some much needed downtime, but it's been good.
And so I guess just kind of like going into it, you had I talked to you all throughout the year, and maybe I sat down with you a couple times about just, your 2023 year. But if you had to kind of just take a look at it, and how would you describe how your 2023 season went with the Woo Sox?
It was a good year for me. I think it was kind of a step forward in my career. It was just a blast to play with that team, that group of guys, that staff is incredible. So overall, it was a fun year, and I think it was an important year for my personal career as well.
Now, you played third base, second base, shortstop, outfield throughout the whole season. You're just bouncing around from place to place. What's your favorite position to play?
Shortstop has always been my natural position. Kind of as soon as I came over to the Red Sox, I've been playing more third and second and a little bit less there, but I'll play wherever. I enjoy doing it. I think it's fun to do it. It kind of keeps things fresh to do it. So I don't mind playing all over the place. It's fun to do it. So I'm just trying to kind of get a little bit better at it because I've never done that before.
It seemed like you were batting all over the lineup as well. Like I saw you leading off, batting second, batting seventh. Do you have a spot you prefer in the lineup also, or are you just kind of it all like whatever? I just want to hit.
Right. I mean, I just want to be in the lineup really, but I like leading off too. Leading off's fun.
I think there was a point during the season where I think Ed was actually there, and I think Chris may have been there too, but we were kind of just like, oh, like leadoff Sogard's in the lineup today. Like I looked at your numbers, and you in the leadoff spot it was like significantly higher than everywhere else in the lineup. What was that stretch like for you? I think it was when Hamilton may have been down with an injury, and it was after Duran got called up, so that they were looking for a leadoff guy, and you filled in perfectly. So I guess what was your mindset? I guess every day you were getting in the batter's box there, leadoff, and you were just leading off the game, getting on base.
Yeah, I've led off a lot in my life, so I don't know if that was maybe a sense of kind of comfortability or maybe a little boost of confidence from Trace to say like, hey, you're gonna do this for us now, or maybe just knowing I'm getting at least 5 at bats that day is, I don't know, something about it just feels right. But I do like doing it. So.
Now, it seemed like, at the beginning of the season, at least, you weren't necessarily in the lineup every day, and you kind of forced your way into that. You ended up being, I think, the steadiest guy in the entire Woo Sox lineup for the whole season. Was it frustrating at the beginning of the year not to necessarily have that set role? And how did you take what was your mentality just showing up every day?
To be honest with you, that's kind of where I've always been throughout my entire career. So it's pretty comfortable. Trace kind of came and found me and said, just kind of hang in there at the beginning, and just take your opportunities when they come. And I've been told that throughout my whole life. So I was pretty comfortable in that role. And I'm always, confident in myself to break out of that role as well.
So when we had Shug on a few episodes back, he was your roommate this past year. And he said something interesting to where after a game, sometimes like you guys would talk and you would maybe ask him, be like, oh, well, like, why did you do this? Why did you throw this? Or he would talk to you, be like, oh, well, why did you do this? How was that being able to like bounce, like just ideas and just like thoughts off of like when you get home with the guy that watched you play and that you were comfortable with?
I think it's valuable, especially to have it being a pitcher, because they're obviously thinking a lot different than we are or vice versa. But sometimes we're thinking the same thing. You know, sometimes we get in there, and not every time either one of us wants to talk about it, but you know, sometimes we'll be thinking the same things, or sometimes, you know, he might ask, I might say, hey, you should have thrown this pitch to this guy, because I think a lot of times, especially for a bullpen guy, it can be tougher because they've been sitting out there the whole game, you know, and then I've watched this guy hit maybe 3 or 4 times already, kind of tell like what he's on, or, you know, whatever. But, and then he'll do the same thing with certain at bats that I take, because maybe he'll pay a little more attention to mine than some other guys. I don't know. But it was a cool dynamic to have him to kind of exchange ideas with.
And so, baseball aside, I wanted to know, what was it like living with Shug?
It was good. He's a good guy, man. He's one of my guys. I didn't really get too close. I mean, I played with Shug in 21 and then in 22 as well. But kind of towards the end of 22 in Worcester, he was like kind of one of the only guys I had spent a good amount of time playing with prior to being on that team. So I think we naturally kind of just like gravitated towards each other. And then, you know, we were already buddies, but I think we just became a lot closer during that time. And then obviously this year, you know, that's one of my guys.
Now, I remember reading an article that you did. I think it was with Tyreek Reed last year with AA, where it was about the housing situation with the team and them. You know, like there was the recent the team actually paying for your guys' living. How does it change where they have you set up between AA and AAA? And do they give you, is it like a better situation at AAA than AA now, or is it kind of the same?
I think now I think it changes year to year, to be honest with you, because Tyreek and I set up in AA. Shout out to Tyreek, by the way. Miss that guy. That guy's the man. Our setup in AA wasn't like, I heard this year's setup in AA was very nice, and ours was good. But then I've heard Greenville's this year was incredible. So I think it just depends on the contract or the year-to-year situation. I don't think it's a straight progression of, as you advance, it gets more bougie or whatever.
But how'd you like living in Worcester this year?
I love playing in Worcester. I really do. The city's a fun little town. The park is obviously incredible. And then we stayed in a little apartment in Millbury. But that was a lot smaller of a place than Worcester, but it was cool. I like it.
So in the locker room this past year in Worcester, I think you might be towards the top of the list for the most outgoing guy in the room. And every day when me and Chris would go around the corner into there, and we would hear somebody like kind of yelling, maybe just getting a little hyped up, we're like, that's Nick Sogard. So it seemed like you were very comfortable in the locker room. So what was I mean, I noticed, and Ed knows just because we were kind of behind the scenes a little bit, for the people that weren't in there though, what would you describe the vibes being like in the locker room all year round?
Yeah. My parents would be surprised to hear you say that. I think I kind of grew up being more shy. So for them to hear you say that, I think that's a testament to my teammates though, you know, like I really do like love those guys, and it was just a good time to be there every day. So I think they probably bring that out of me. I have good energy being around them and doing the job that I'm doing. So I genuinely just enjoy being in that space every day.
Yeah, my favorite Nick Sogard moment was I didn't usually show up there that early because I was always coming from my day job. But I got out early one day, and I got there just when they were putting the lineup cards up. And I'm looking at it, and I go, oh, yeah, no, Nick Sogard's leading off. I like that. And from, like, you were, like, on the completely other side of the room. I just hear this, yeah, I like that, too.
Yeah, I do.
But, so there was a lot of guys similar to you, just in the versatility, you know, like Ryan Fitzgerald, but I think most notably for the more, I don't want to say casual Red Sox fans, but fans that follow the big league team more, Bobby Dahlback was getting some playing time in shortstop in the outfield for the first time. Did you talk to him at all about swapping positions like that? Did Fitzy talk to him at all about that? Because that's, you know, going for, he never really played outfield in his entire career. And I would imagine that's a bit of, even if you're as good of an athlete as Bobby, that's still a transition. Is that something that you guys talked over with him before he started doing it?
Not really, honestly. Trying to think. I mean, Bob's a very cerebral player. He spends a lot of time thinking the game, and he's talked to so many people that, he really is a true fan of the game where he's always seeking an edge or an extra, piece of information, or which I think is probably a testament to him, and that's why he made that transition so seamless. Obviously, he's an extreme athlete and great arm, great runner, the power. He can do anything on a field, but he's a hard worker too. He'd be out there every day shagging fly balls and BP, you know, taking ground balls too, doing both most days. So anything he can do to improve his game, even at this stage in his career, is cool to watch.
Now, I'll tell you what, I saw Bobby make a play in right field where it was a ball hit off the, I'm pretty sure it was Daniel Palka that hit it whenever Syracuse was in town. Off the wall, Bobby played it so perfectly, just fired it straight shot to second base to get him out by like 5 steps. And it's just like, that guy has never played right field before this year before. I don't believe that. That was incredible. And it was kind of funny that it was on Palka as well. But I'm sure they kind of had some chatter about that, but I want to, so I talked about you just being, I got the sense that you were very comfortable in the clubhouse, and I guess I want to know, like, how long did it take you after the trade? It seems like it's been 4 years now, so it's been quite a while. It seems like it's been a lot longer than that, but how long did it take you after the trade for you to get like fully like comfortable and settled into the system?
I felt pretty comfortable right away. Straight into Greenville was nice. That's a great place to play too. There was a good group of guys on that team too. I think that's where this kind of core group I've been playing with since 21 has, kept advancing, and it's a really good group of guys to play with. The organization did a pretty good job of, bringing me in and kind of making me feel like it was also my first full season. So I didn't really have a lot of like expectations, or I didn't really know, because I'd only been with Tampa for such a short time. So it wasn't like it was this brand new, like, I didn't really even know Tampa that well. So I felt comfortable coming over.
And did you and Oso kind of have like a little pact because you're like, hey, me and you came over together, we're in this together type thing?
I didn't know Oso there, but we definitely have a pact now. Yeah, he's
he
the
was
best,
awesome,
dude. I love that guy.
the way.
What's that?
He was awesome. Like I remember interviewing him on Media Day this past year, like at Polar Park, and he was just like, I don't know. I just felt like he was always like very happy, always had a smile on his face. I don't know. I just felt like he was always like I don't even know how to word it. He was just always like good vibes, I guess.
There's nobody with a better attitude maybe in the world than Ronaldo Hernandez.
Yeah.
There are some similarities with you two also, because he didn't really go into this season because of Alfaro. He didn't necessarily have that full-time role that maybe he expected, and he took everything that he was given and just kind of ran with it. And by the end of the season, I mean, he was drawing walks at a rate that he hadn't in his career. He was hitting homers again. It seems like there's a lot of that attitude in the clubhouse. Would you like, where it's just kind of guys seizing the opportunities that they're given? Is that something though that's more individual, or is that something that's emphasized by the coaching?
The reality of it is, at the end of the day, it's always individual. It's a team game, but you gotta take your own at bats. But with that being said, it becomes so much easier. It was kind of nice how you put it, Ed, when you do it as a team. When you've got guys like, even like the top prospects where you think they might not be, not at all, like Rafaela and Abreu, and these guys are working, they are playing hard every day, so it's like, it's contagious when you see guys all through the lineup that are grinding out every at bat. And I think that's why we had, the offense that we had and the lineup that we had is like every guy that was in there was like really grinding it out every day. And that makes it way easier to do it as an individual when you've got 8 other guys that are, pulling for you when you're up and are kind of attacking the pitcher the same way you're attacking it. So it's kind of a long answer, but it's always individual, but it's much more simple when it's a group effort as well.
Now, I want to ask you about something. And I remember I interviewed you at one point during the season, and I think you had not hit a home run yet when I interviewed you. I forgot what month that was. And I remember at the very end, you're just
Probably like August.
Yeah, and you were kind of you said something to me. You were just like, "Oh man, I would like, maybe if I could just tap into that power a little bit, that would be nice." Yeah. And then I'm pretty sure you hit your first home run that day. Like, I guess I don't know, maybe you just spoke it into existence. But which one of your? So you got on base a ton this year. You were drawing walks, just getting on base any way possible. But what were you most proud of that you did this year? Just your overall game.
I would have to say the consistency. I think kind of just my mentality was much improved upon last year's. Kind of just a little more confident. Just had a better understanding of the game too, I think was important. But I'd have to probably just say the consistency, just kind of trying to bring that quality product every day and contribute to our team winning.
No, and so a bunch of your teammates got called up. You were just talking about Rafaela and Abreu and Valdez. A lot of the rookies are starting to get added to the team. Are you guys following them as they're sent up? Do you guys watch the big league team play there?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's a blast to see those guys, Valdez and Abreu and Rafaela and a lot of the pitchers and other guys. We get really excited to see them, Hamilton, to see them go up and perform. It's exciting. We love those guys. So it's cool to see them fulfilling their dreams and doing it at the biggest level.
You've gotten to see Rafaela also play shortstop and center field. Which one do you think he's better at?
Come on, Ed. He's something else, man. You put him anywhere and you're in good shape.
You're asking the hard questions.
I know.
Yeah.
Pick your favorite child. Do it.
Can't put my guy on the spot. Come on. Now I was about to ask something, but I kind of I don't know, I lost. Oh, okay. I did want to ask this. It's not a tough question or anything, but when we were talking to Shug, he kind of talked about like what it was like, playing under Paul Abbott and just that coaching staff this year. And he, obviously had great things to say about Paul Abbott and how much he meant to the clubhouse. But do you have any, what was your experience, I guess, playing under Tracy and Getty and Montville and all those guys this year? Like, I guess just as a whole.
Yeah, it was incredible. Yeah, I mean, I don't even really know the proper way to describe it, but they're just so good. I mean, Getty and Mon and are great as a hitter to have them every day. I know, Mont's gone now, but Mont was awesome, and Getty's mind is a gem. So working with him every day is beautiful. And then Tracy and Flo are so good together, and Trace as a manager and Flo's knowledge and experience, in the infield and just overall game knowledge, little things from just really everything, base running, the pitchers, what they're doing, how to get a little edge anywhere you can it's a really high level coaching staff for AAA. I know talking to some other guys, they're not getting what we're getting out of that staff. So we understand that. We're grateful as players to have them. There's not a player in that clubhouse that didn't love any one of those four guys that I worked with. I didn't work with Paul, but I like Paul too. So we understand how good they are, and we're grateful for them.
So I don't think like the casual fans, like what Ed said earlier, like casual fans with Flo, I don't think they understand just how like underrated that guy is. And
incredible. Yeah.
He is sneaky funny too. Like he would sit in our meetings. Like sometimes when we'd go in Tracy's office pregame, he would be sitting at his desk and, you don't think he's listening, but then he'll just like chime in with something and just like roast Tyler Murray or something. And I'm just like, This guy has got it right now. I can only imagine what so like, was there any good times, I guess, in your meetings, like just like player meetings with him that you were just like, okay, this guy's funny?
Every day.
All
every
right.
single day. Yeah, he's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, I figured as much. Like it's just every time we got to interact with the guy, just and like you said, that
Yeah,
whole staff, man, it was incredible.
right.
Chad Tracy is going to be a major league manager one day. It's not a matter
No
of
doubt.
if, it's just when. Um Ed, I think you were about to hop in.
Oh, I just had I had a question about, so because you were talking about just like the coaching staff and everybody, but there were also some players with some pretty veteran experience that were moving up and down this year. And you ended the season with Christian Arroyo, who obviously has been pretty relevant with the Red Sox on the team for at the end of the year. There was Yu Chang, Trevor Story was coming up and down a little bit with the his rehab assignment. Bunch of pitchers. Chris Sale was obviously there again for a bit. Was there anything that you learned from the veteran players, and how did they, I guess, fit in with the rest of the team there? Were they kind of a separate entity, or did they join in with the team and kind of become a part of it?
Yeah. I would say I more so learned from guys like Nico Goodrum and Bob and a little bit Polka. I mean, having guys like Story and stuff like that around is awesome, but it's a shorter amount of time, and they're kind of, I mean, they're great. Don't get me wrong. They're anything you ask, they're there for you, whatever you want, but it's just not as long, so you don't really form the relationship as much. Whereas with Bob, just from day one, and Goodrum really just, they kind of set the tone for our whole season, where because a lot of those guys were kind of gone towards the end of the year, but it kind of set the tone for how to act, and for a lot of the younger guys, just understanding this is how you go about your day to day, and that's invaluable. They've been there, they've done it, they know the right way to go about it, and they just kind of lay out the landscape for how to get it done.
Did Nico say anything about like how his pitch recognition, because that dude was drawing walks at an unbelievable rate this
Yeah,
season?
he's a really smart hitter. I would talk to him the most when he was with us, but extremely smart hitter. He just has such a good understanding of what they're trying to do to him. Very selective hitter at the same time. So, if they don't throw him what he's prepared for, he's just going to let it go. And I think he definitely reaped the benefits of the electronic strike zone as well. But no, he's a really good player. He can hit, and he can take his walks too.
We've had a lot of pitchers on talking about the electronic strike zone, but I'm just curious from your perspective how you feel about it, because you seem, just based on the numbers, at least, it seems like you have a pretty good understanding of your strike zone. How do you like having it there with the automatic, and how do you feel about being able to challenge it if you don't like the call?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for, the human aspect of the game, and there's going to be mistakes made, but at the same time, it's like you can't afford these mistakes to be made in certain situations. Or like, yeah, I know the World Series, and they've got the little square up there, and it's like, we're probably yelling at our TVs, how could you call that a strike, or how could you call it a ball? The reality is hard for the umpires to be that good, like the ball's moving too fast, it's moving all over the place. It's very hard for them. But as a hitter, when it's a ball, and you need that ball to be called a ball, So I would I would approve for sure if they went full electronic, but I understand. I think the challenge system is fun too. I think that would be a nice kind of hybrid where there's a little player versus umpire too, which is always a good time. So I would approve of the challenge method for sure going forward.
I don't know if you remember, but I think it was the last home game of the year in Worcester, and Politi was on the mound, and it was like down to the last strike, and they challenged
Yeah,
it, and the game just kept going, and I'm just like, holy cow! Like I don't know if this is like what they envisioned whenever they had this
right.
the challenge
Yeah,
system, but
that is
it
a
was
little funky when it's late in the game, and each team, we've got two left or they've got three left. And because if you get rung up on the last pitch and you got a couple left, you have to burn them. You might as well,
yeah.
versus just walking away for it. So I do understand that. Maybe they, you get like a certain amount. You can't use more than one in an inning or something to kind of clean that up a little bit. But I'll still take that over getting rung up on a bad one to end the game for sure.
Oh yeah. I have one last, like, not a hard question, but before I get into one-offs. You're Rule 5 eligible this offseason. You put yourself into a position to where you should be on that radar. So was that ever on your mind throughout the year? And I guess what's your mindset towards it now?
The reality is we all know where we're at and we all know where we're trying to be. So, of course that's in your mind, but you can't, spend time worrying about decisions that, you don't make. So you just go out and play, and over the next couple months, we'll see what happens. But either way, next year, I'm just going to go out and play. So that's kind of where I'm at.
All right. So, Ed, unless you got something to follow up on, I have some one-offs, so I'll let you.
I'm ready for the one-offs. You know which one I'm excited for, so we'll get there. All right.
Well, I like this because I know my man Nick Sogard is a very cultured man, and I know that obviously being a California guy, you've lived like all over the country, so I feel like you're gonna have some good answers. But yeah, the first one has been the most controversial, and you're not a Southern guy, so maybe it's not going to be as controversial. It's not like In-N-Out Whataburger, because I already know your answer. Like that's
yep.
Yeah, so it's not that, because that's just like I would not be giving that softball question. But all right, so first question. What is the go-to fried chicken fast food place?
Does Chick-fil-A count?
Oh yeah. Yeah, okay. Chick-fil-A counts.
I'm gonna get flack for sure from probably Shug and guys from down there, but I don't go down there. I've never been to Texas before in my life, so I don't know. I'm going with Chick-fil-A.
Okay. The right answer.
What is that's kind of an uncultured answer, I feel like.
It's the right answer for me. I said okay. Chick-fil-A for this too, because I am also not from the South, so I don't have access to the Chicken Expresses and the Zaxby's of the world.
Right.
You never had Cane's
Chicken
before?
Express is.
I didn't like until Hunter Dobbins came on, so
Cane's is good, but you said go to, so that is Chick-fil-A.
No, it's fair. You're a Cali guy. I wouldn't expect any different. And because it is funny, it's a lot of the Southern guys, it's very like it hits home. And the Chicken Express thing, I think, is just a Texas, but Zaxby's, Cane's, can't go wrong. Chick-fil-A, I guess I'll take it. Okay, so my second question here. You grew up in California. You obviously have now played all up and down the East Coast in the Sox system. What was the number one hardest thing to adjust to cold weather here and you can't just say cold?
Yeah. I don't mind the cold weather itself. But playing in the cold is a little bit of a different thing, because your body needs to move quick, you need to react quick, kind of explosive movements. So playing in the cold is a little bit tougher. But even then, after a couple, this being like, I guess my second year of doing it, really, because Portland was pretty cold last year, I felt way more comfortable this year than I did the year before. So just little stuff, keep the hands warm, just keep your body moving as much as you can when you're in the dugout and stuff like that, and that's helped.
So my next question here is, you're a Sacramento Kings fan.
Yeah.
So my question is, how does it feel to be one of only 10 fans for the Sacramento Kings in the world?
Dude, you got to get out to Sacramento and see what the stadium's like.
Yeah, I didn't see you post at a game, I think, not too long ago.
Yeah. No, it's fun. It's more fun now that they're performing a little better. So.
Okay, I was obviously joking, but I feel like if I polled people in California, like who they're a fan of, it's either probably going to be Lakers, Warriors, maybe Clippers, maybe.
Literally any team except in Sacramento. They're all going to be Kings fans, I promise. It's kind of rowdy. You'd be surprised.
It's fair. It's they do have like a sneaky good team this year, so that's and they were last year too. So
yeah.
Okay. I remember you were wearing a Kings shirt in there, and I'm kind of like, wow, that's like the first time I've ever seen somebody wearing a Sacramento Kings shirt. So. I don't know. It's kind of wild.
Especially in Massachusetts. You've probably never seen that one before.
Yeah. Well, like I said, though, it's like I feel like, if people, I see like some of the guys in the system from California, they're like posting like Lakers stuff and all that. I was like, okay, like I get it. It's
Yeah.
a very cool thing to do, I guess. All right. So I had one of my last one-offs here is, so when you left Worcester, did you drive to California?
No. So I drove to Nashville, and then from there I flew to Pittsburgh.
Okay.
No, sorry. From there I flew to California. Sorry.
Okay. Have you ever made that drive from California to like the East Coast before to play?
I drove from California to Minnesota.
Okay.
That's my longest drive.
I was going to say, do you know how long that drive would take? And it probably would make somebody go crazy. So I was curious if you've ever done it before.
Yeah, no, that'd be tough. The one to Minnesota was long. It was a little over 30 hours. And it took us 3 days. We did like 10 hours per day.
That's some serious driving. Yeah, I did Massachusetts to Arizona, and I've done Massachusetts to New Orleans before. And it gets pretty pretty monotonous. But what do you do like on those long drives? Like, are you a radio guy, podcast guy? You just talk to whoever you're with? Like, how do you kill the time on a long car trip?
It kind of depends. Normally just music normally music, but sometimes I'll mix in a podcast.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I don't actually listen to podcasts for the most part. Like I do this stuff, but it's I don't like listening to what other people are doing because then I feel like I'm going to be tempted to steal from them, and I don't want to do that. So
that makes sense.
It's fair. I feel like I wouldn't be doing the Sogard family justice without at least mentioning that you have one of the best support systems in, I think, well, definitely in Worcester this past year, because I got to meet your parents and they were just awesome people. Your sister even came and sang a national anthem. Like, that was cool. Yeah. So I guess like, how cool is it, I guess, to have like that good of a support system for you there that is like, they might be all the way across the country, like probably the furthest from you that they could possibly be in the United States. And they're still like, I feel like they were right there.
Right. Yeah, no, they don't miss a game. So whether they're in Massachusetts or California, they're always watching. They're probably more excited after a good game than I am, and more devastated after a bad one than me too. But no, it's so good to have, them supported me my whole life, and especially at this level to have that support group there it obviously means a lot, and I'm grateful for it.
We've heard the famous FaceTime with your mom FaceTimed you, and I guess she was just saying like, can you guys just like not suck pretty much? And and Shug was just like overhearing it, and I remember it was either you or him that told me that story, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I had just had a tough one, probably an offer with a couple Ks, and Shug gave a few up on the mound, and she called me and said, "Get Shug over there," and said, "You guys like completely suck today," or something like that. Like, figure it out. Don't do that shit again tomorrow. So that's pretty much how that call went.
That's motivational speaking 101 right there.
Yeah, it's out of love. She obviously didn't. She's not like serious on that call, but it's funny. She kind of is. Funny. Yeah.
So your cousin was the only MLB, like former MLB player on the Czech Republic team in the World Baseball Classic last year. Is that, because I don't know if that's your side of the family or as well, is that something that you would be able to do if you ever wanted to? And would you ever want to play in the World Baseball Classic regardless?
He got his Czech citizenship through his mom. So that's not something that I could get. I don't think. But yeah, the World Baseball Classic is obviously an extremely fast growing kind of thing. I mean, it's been around, but it seems like the popularity and care for it is like really skyrocketing.
Yeah,
especially in this last
year.
one.
Otani, I mean, that
Right.
last at bat, Otani versus Trout was
Right.
insane. That might have been the moment, and it was a great baseball season. That might have been the best moment of it. Was that one at bat? It
Right.
was nuts.
Yeah, you can just see how much it means to represent, your country, and it's a really competitive tournament. So, yeah, that'd be cool.
All right, Nick, I got 2 questions left. As my final ones. You've given us a ton of your time, so thank you for that. I told you off air. I was going to ask you about this. I want to know your thoughts on the ping pong table there in the locker room. So I got some quotes from Shug about, we were just kind of like, okay, like who's the best, who's the worst. And he actually, I think he maybe Brennan Nail may have said that you were like low key one of the better guys on the table. How were the battles in the locker room, I guess?
There was a lot of them. The reality of who's the best, what needed to happen was a tournament because, for example, I hate to say this, but I never beat Bobby once. But Bobby never beat Caleb Hamilton once. And I beat Caleb Hamilton every time. So there's kind of a little bit of and then Fitzy was very good, but at the end, Fitzy was getting kind of got by a few guys. So there needed to be a tournament to crown a true king, which never happened, but it's competitive in there on that table for sure.
Parker, I think we got to organize this for next year. I think we've got
to do a bracket, man.
Like around the All-Star break or something, just like a tournament of to really decide this. It's like that's funny though, like the rock paper scissors sort of thing here.
Right.
So it ends up being matchup based. Did Bobby really have his own like custom paddles like Forrest Gump?
Fitzy for sure. Fitzy kind of brought that. Fitzy started that trend, if there was one, where people started buying paddles, which is true. Murph bought a paddle for no reason. Murphy's not very good. Bob did buy a paddle. So, yeah, the guy started buying paddles. I kind of just inherited one that was there and stuck it in my locker. But
yeah,
it was good.
So it was, man, it was crazy some days. Just the walk in there and just like you would just hear some, and I felt so bad for Ryan Fernandez and Joe Jakes because their locker was right behind the table, and they're 2 quiet guys, and the balls are just whizzing by their head, and I'm just like, dude, Joe Jakes might be a quiet dude, but like if he gets smoked in the head, like you might get upset, man. It's I don't know. You guys were nuts on the table
for sure.
So I have one last question, Ed. I don't know what you have, but
I've got 2. So I'm just gonna ask one of them right now, which is you played in the in lead up last year a little bit, the Dominican Winter League. How was your experience there? And are you going to be doing any winter ball this off season?
None this off season. Just kind of prioritizing gaining strength and continuing to work on the bat speed and stuff like that. But I loved it down there. I definitely will do that again at some point in my career. I don't really know when, but I'll definitely go back down there. It was a great time.
All right, Ed, you I'll finish this off if you got your last one in the tank.
So my last question for you. Talked about the ping pong. You were up a bit in Worcester for 2022 also. Did you participate in the chess tournament they were doing?
No, I didn't completely get
boy.
into the chess wave. Not really, no.
Okay.
That was a big deal, though. They were all about
Shug
the
was
chess for a while.
proud.
Yeah.
I just remember hearing that Franchi was like a chess savant, so I want to know like who like the top players there were. I'm very curious about the chess scene.
I wasn't super into the chess scene, so I can't tell you with clarity who was top dog, but they were definitely into it. I can tell you that much.
All right, so are you a goals guy at all?
What's that?
Are you a goals guy? Like, do you set goals before like seasons?
No, I try not to be like focusing on the numbers too much. I kind of try and maybe set more like mental goals of how I want my mind to be before I go to the field every day, or I just try to worry about the things that I can control really more so than that number on the scoreboard.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know, like, because I feel like some guys are very different with that, where I know we talked to a few guys where there's like, okay, like I want to be at like a certain like body weight, or I want to do certain things in the
Okay,
gym.
sorry. I thought you were speaking more of like season statistic
Oh
goals.
no, just like what?
Okay,
like how are
okay.
you prepping yourself before you show up to spring training? Like if you had
Yeah.
certain goals in mind.
Definitely trying to gain a lot of strength. Yeah, I do have off-season goals. Sorry about that.
No, it's all good.
Hitting the weight room pretty hard. Running are two of my main goals, and then the bat speed. So I'm going to be working pretty hard with the Red Sox on that, and as well as on my own to get that going a little bit too.
We'll be looking forward to seeing Sogard in the power department next year, hitting it over that Worcester wall, man.
I'd love to see you in spring training this year. After that, that's gonna be really cool.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Nick, we appreciate the time, and it's a pleasure, man. It's definitely the guy that I think trademarked the Woo Dogs. I'm pretty sure that was you. I heard it first out of your mouth, so I'm going to say it was you.
I'll take it.
But thank you for hopping on and joining us.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.